Hello subscribers and non-subscribers, this is going to be an announcement video regarding Star Trek Online. So, I want to let you all know that I'm actually going to be putting this series on hold until further notice. And the reason being, when I tried to record this week's episode, the game decided to essentially, I believe, crash my video card drivers. And they were unable to recover. When that happened, I had to do a manual restart of my computer just to be able to do anything, because I wasn't even able to get down to the desktop or get Task Manager up, nothing. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the problem is that's causing this. This is the only game that I have had problems with when it comes to recording. And I'm not joking when I say that. This game, a few episodes back, I was constantly having crashes when I would try to record episodes, and so the recordings would be stuck into like 5 different pieces of varying lengths just to get a full episode. And that's before I would even go and cut out things like loading screens and whatnot. And the game was fine, I believe, last episode, but this episode it decided it wants to have problems again. And sadly, when I have to do a manual reboot like that, DxTory doesn't end the recording properly, and because of that, I'm not able to actually use that footage. I have to delete it and re-record all of it, which is a general pain. The series will probably come back once I do a fresh install of Windows 10. However, that will not be until I upgrade my CPU, which, well, I don't know when that will be. I'm torn between 3 options: getting a Broadwell E chip whenever those come out. That way I can use the 6-core 12 threads of it to help out with rendering, which will be great for rendering things like The Division, because a hour and 30-minute long video of The Division takes me like 18 hours to render out when recorded at 60 FPS and rendered at 60 FPS. But I'm also torn between going with a Skylake, because I know Skylake performs better than Haswell E, and Broadwell E would perform better than Haswell E, but probably not better enough to the point where it would actually beat a Skylake E in terms of actual gaming performance. However, as I said, Broadwell E would help me out with rendering because it will have more cores and thus more threads. And of course, I could always overclock that to 4 gigahertz or whatever I can get it stable at. But I'm also torn between waiting until October, when AMD is supposed to be releasing their enthusiast level Zen CPU. No idea what that'll be priced at, but apparently it's supposed to come out in October and be a 95 watt TDP, which is better than the TDP of Broadwell E and Haswell E, which are sitting at like 100, I believe 140 watts for their TDP. So I'm torn between doing those. I can wait until Zen comes out, but that means this series will be on hold for a longer period of time, and any series that ends between now and then will not be getting replaced until after I do a fresh install of Windows 10, which, as I said, will only be once I upgrade my CPU. I could, of course, go and wait until... I could, of course, go and wait till I have... So I could... they did that. Sort of stumbling on what I'm trying to say. So I could, of course, go with a Broadwell E whenever those come out, which I'm going to figure probably June. And I'd be able to go with that because, well, for one, I would also have some of my own money, but also my parents have agreed to, so long as my grades are good for this semester, to actually... give me some of their tax return to spend on upgrading my CPU, so I'd be able to actually do that. But yeah, so it's, as I said, this series is going on hold until further notice, which essentially means until I do a fresh install of Windows 10, which, as I said, won't be until I upgrade my CPU, because for whatever reason this game just seems to have issues. And actually, I'm personally sort of sick of dealing with it now. It's reached a point where it's just too annoying to deal with, so I'm done with the series for now. Once I do a fresh install of Windows 10, I'll try it out again, Hopefully, I won't have any issues. But when I end up doing a fresh install of Windows 10, just depends. And for me, it's one of those I have to go with a i7 just because I do video rendering, and having an i7 thus allowing me to have hyperthreading will be very useful. But one of the advantages of waiting for Zen is that apparently that chip is an 8-core 16-thread, which is more than what I'd be getting if I were to go with Broadwell E, because I'm not going to spend like $800 for a CPU alone. I'm sorry, that's just not worth it. Although, granted, of course, if I had the extra money that would come via Patreon, which of course would be you guys pledging via Patreon, if I had the extra money from that, I would actually probably not mind doing something stupid like that. But generally speaking, I'm actually against spending that much money for a CPU alone. So, for me, I'd essentially be going either with the entry-level Broadwell E or the i7-6700K when it comes to Intel. But of course, I could wait until October to get Zen, but that's a ways out there. That's like an additional 5 months, or 4 months, I believe, because June would probably... I don't actually know when Broadwell E is supposed to come out, but I'm going to assume probably June or so. Apparently it's supposed to be announced or something at Computex, which I guess is apparently in June, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, so... I don't know. As I said, this series is going on hold. It'll probably return when I do a fresh install of Windows 10, but that all depends on when I get around to upgrading my CPU, which, at the earliest, as I said, would probably be about June or so. Because that would be after this semester ends, and when I assume Broadwell E will potentially be out at the earliest. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But of course, again, if I had the extra money that came from Patreon, I'd be able to upgrade pretty much whenever it is that I wanted to. But I don't currently have anyone over on Patreon as a patron pledging money, or, well, essentially donating money. So I don't have the extra income from that. So I have to upgrade at essentially sort of set times, which is essentially when I have the money and when there's something that interests me. So because of that, I'm not able to upgrade basically whenever I feel as though is good. So, you know, as a reminder, yes, I do have a Patreon, and if you guys would like to help support the channel, that is the easiest way to do so, and it is on a monthly basis. I believe they charge you at the beginning of each month, and I believe the money is deposited to me at the beginning of each month as well for the previous month. So, like, for example, March, I would probably get paid like in the first 2 weeks or so of April. But you guys would be charged for March. You would actually now be charged essentially whenever it is that you would pledge. But for the April payment, I think you would be charged on April 1st. I believe, if I recall correctly, you get charged at the beginning of each month or something like that. But I believe you also get charged as soon as you pledge. But each subsequent charge is on the 1st of each month, I believe. But yeah, so again, as a reminder, my Patreon exists there, and it is an easy way to help support the channel. And as I said, it is a monthly thing. I do have 552 so subscribers right now. If each of you guys were to do $1 a month, that would be $552 a month, and I don't have a calculator